Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome back to the next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And today I have Clinton Cohen as a guest on this episode. And Clinton is the CEO of a BPO based in South Africa called iContact. And Clinton, I'm humbled to have you here with me. You're my first guest from South Africa, so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Mark, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for the privilege to connect with you and your audience at Brohawk, and it's just wonderful to be here. My name's Clinton Cohen, CEO of iContact BPO. I'm going to start at the beginning and just framework a little bit on my personal front with blessed to have two beautiful children, Gabriel and Noah, and effectively my home CEO, my beautiful partner and wife, Elka. My journey began with a marketing degree coming out of university and quickly moved into my entrepreneurial flair in the hospitality sector. And having spent a good tenure in hospitality, my partners in the contact center world in South Africa, which is now known as the Alphabet Group Holdings Company, called me and said, "Hey, Clint, we know you're transitioning out of hospitality. We're looking for a CEO of a BPO business. Come have a coffee with us and let's see where the conversation goes." And the rest was history, Mark. It was absolute love at first sight. Business was founded in 2015. I joined in the October. It was founded in the July, joined in the October. And I've had the absolute privilege of leading my team of just over 600 full-time employees servicing the international markets from South Africa in an exciting, tremendous space.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, 600 seats is not a small operation that you're running over there. Um, you know, for people that may be, listening to this and they're like, outsourcer in South Africa, you know, what is it about the outsourcing landscape in South Africa that, makes it attractive for, your customers or potential customers uh, that may be looking at an outsource partner?
Mark, it's a great question, and I think really if you frame it, South Africa is not accustomed to outsourcing, and the sector's been outsourcing for 20 plus years, coming out of the South African market, servicing various different industries, verticals. But what's really important to note for maybe the new audience that might not be aware of this landscape is South Africa has won consecutively in the past 2 years the most favored offshore destination from a customer experience landscape perspective in the world. Now that's benchmarking against India, Philippines, the LATAM regions. And this is a tremendous feat and accolade that we've won as a destination and something that we're extremely proud about. And further to some of those questions, conversations for maybe newcomers to outsourcing would be, well, what does South Africa have? What is the value proposition of South Africa? And I think when positioned and phrased with that question, we're seen and we're positioned as a value destination. So there's always the cost benefits of outsourcing to offshore locations. South Africa primarily ticks that box as a conversation, but is supported with a whole host of English being our native speaking language. When our president gets on stage and addresses our population, he's speaking, whilst we have 11 official languages, English is still our business language, formal language, taught in English, taught in schools, spoken. So English being a native speaking language, a country with, today we know, first world infrastructure, South Africa is also known as the economic hub of Africa. So we think about the continent. There is tremendous development over historic years with infrastructure, roads, telephonies, technologies, all being deployed out of our country. And that amongst, as a culture, ranking with high levels of empathy, tied back into some of those reasons why we won these accolades about the most favored CX outsourced destination in the world.
So, with your employees, what do you think is the main differentiator from a CX perspective? That allows them to be recognized internationally as a top destination. Are they is it the mindset that they go into each customer interaction with? Is it how they operate through a transactional interaction, or is it critical thinking? What is it about the employee base over there that really makes them stand out versus other offshore regions?
Mark, it's important to understand the landscape in South Africa, and I'm going to draw my first initial response or answer to that question coming back into the empathy levels. And as a culture, as we've gone through our own historic pasts and where we are today, and it was once shared with me that when certain other geographies get on a call and someone's broken down and a roadside assistant calls for help, and that contact center agent grabs that call, that person's saying, "Hey, can I have your account number?" Where in South Africa, the initial response is to say, "Hey, Mr. Brody, are you safe? Are you okay? And how can I help you? Like, do you need additional?" We'll deal with the breakdown, but there's that first empathy that comes inherently. Now, I'm not going to harp on it, and I suppose the second part of the micros or the macros as we look at it, unfortunately, South Africa has really high rates of unemployment, probably one of the largest on the global levels. And when we think about what does this opportunity create for us as a BPO destination, is that we have the ability, when we go into sourcing, recruiting, and selecting candidates, that whether we're bringing through skills learning and development, or whether we're going into the labor market that has an educated talent pool, whether it's school or tertiary education levels, we're able to attract skilled labor, native English speakers that are able to converse, voice or non-voice, to the global markets with a great value proposition behind it, not only from price, but in quality service and delivery, because today, that's what clients are looking for. Yes, you'll always have the CFO with a bean counter looking at it and going, we've got to make the dollars and cents work, right? But at the end of the day, if you're able to get it at a more attractive and affordable price with exceptional quality delivery, those two can't be unwavering. You're going to deliver a fantastic proposition and result to your clients.
I think, one of the things that really resonated, a couple of things resonated with me that you just mentioned. One is you can go after, you can attract skilled and some unskilled, labor to, depending on what the need of your clients are, highly educated in a lot of cases. But the intangible piece is the empathetic piece. When you get somebody on a call, it's about the human that's on the other side and not the transaction that needs to be completed.
Absolutely. And today, more and more, as I think about our business and I think about contact centers, clients today want to understand, what is that offshore BPO provider going to be? What value are they creating? What are they bringing to the table? And you mentioned it. You mentioned, apart from empathy, is critical thinking. And today, with the use of technology, these are all assessment platforms, through recruitment, that you're able to ascertain what is that candidate profile look like? How well will they be able to respond to customer interaction? Because it's no longer, as you mentioned, it's no longer transactional. Transactional is great, and I think there are certain, work streams that need transactional results, and those are high scale, high volume, and you need those type environments. But today, in the ever evolving technology, use of bots, use of artificial intelligence coming into this, the agent level is really coming in that needs to have that critical thinking, that problem solving, with empathy overlaid, will deliver wonderful customer experience results.
If I'm mistaken, please correct me on this, but I believe iContact got its start with some debt collection type of work.
Absolutely.
And,
so
yeah, and I mean, you have to be empathetic when you're talking about something as personal as people's finances.
Today, Mark, and we've seen it, COVID came along and was a massive disruption in the marketplace and turned a whole bunch of things on its head. But I think let me take us back a little bit on the conversation journey. The Alphabet Group Holdings was founded in 2004 by my partners who sit at a holding co level, but are strategically involved, in grey matter expertise and providing support and into my world. The two brothers founded the business in the domestic debt collection market and built a tremendous business. And today the group employs 1,500 people across our headquarters sites in Johannesburg, South Africa, with another site in Cape Town and a third site in Houghton as well. And what the team was instrumental in building in the foundation and legacy of our business was around accounts receivable debt collection. And you hit the nail on the head. In order to be an amazing debt collector, there's the arts of negotiations and those conversational pieces, convincing people and needing them to pay. But what we really saw happen with COVID was how that debt collection conversation shifted. And the importance of that empathy level coming through in those debt collection conversations delivered a brand loyal consumer at the end of it by understanding that they can't pay now. Okay, we'll give you a payment holiday. Every client had their different opportunities or different structures, how they'd rework their accounts. But that nuance and that empathy to engage with consumers in a human to human real engagement led to tremendous brand loyalty. What we're seeing now, that wave still coming through, and I'm glad we can say post-COVID, but we know it's not, because it's still around and it still lurks in its muddy corners here or there. But bang on in terms of that empathy level and how it shifts the narrative in a conversation.
So you may not have known this, but I grew up in first party and some third party debt collection experiences. And anytime one of the things that really resonates with me is having that empathy for a customer that may be struggling today, but you don't know how much they're going to be able to purchase in the future. And you want to keep that, you want to show that the customer from a brand perspective, they want to be able to show their customer that, hey, we understand you're going through a bad spot right now, but 6 months from now, a year from now, we want to welcome you back into purchasing our products or services, because we know that it's going to have a lot of value for you. And having that empathetic understanding that, hey, it's not a matter of just collecting the debt and so long, we'll never see you again. It's okay, let's go ahead and get you back on track, and then let's figure out how we can help you purchase more in the future.
It's such a strong narrative that you mentioned there, Mark, that last piece, in terms of how can we help you, and it's, in that in that mindset, in that shift comes the empathy, comes the importance. And as you mentioned, 6 months down the line, that person, is purchasing more and different other parts of your products and services, but because of a conversation that was held with empathy, transparency, and an underlying culture of how can I help you?
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, we talked a little bit about the collections piece, and the customer service piece, but are there any specific verticals, industries that you tend to gravitate more towards, or some that you might gravitate away from? I can't imagine anybody wanting to gravitate away from a certain industry, but hey, some folks are like, hey, I'm strictly retail and I don't want to do anything else. But where is your do you get to see the biggest bang for your client's buck?
Phenomenal. And thanks, Mark. When we unpack it and what we see today, the business founded in 2015 with a blank canvas, and what are we going to become, and who are we, and what is that journey?
Yes.
And 7 years young, and I believe now we're at the beginning of our business of who we are. And I think it is important for businesses, and especially BPOs, to understand that certainly, let me talk on my behalf, that we become laser focused, we become specialists in a customer experience solution, from end to end, being customer journey mapping to processing to technology and bots and laying it all that and bringing that value creation. And when we talk across what industries, it really ranges between e-commerce, retail, hospitality, travel, and that's just in a CX environment. And I think what's important to note is that we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. Every single one of our customer programs, and yes, there's a lot of institutional knowledge that's been built up over the years, but if we look at it today, we can see that our business is, we drive a culture of customer centricity in our organization, which lends itself through our customer channels and our customer experience agents. And it's a really wonderful story to see this ignite and come alive. Yes, as a BPO, we have other services. Yes, we've got technical support and outbound sales, and and again, in various different sectors, industries, automotive, financial services, property, fintech. That's the exciting part of a BPO, that there's, it's ever evolving, ever changing, and customer needs and requirements are developing, evolving as the landscape shifts. But today, I'd like to say that we a specialized customer experience BPO outfit, outsourced, offshored in South Africa, proudly South Africa, servicing North America, the UK, and Australia, giving us a 24/7, 365 delivery centers here in South Africa.
That is awesome. Clinton, you guys are obviously, knocking it out of the park for your clients. And, as we kind of wind up our conversation today, what would the top three takeaways that you would want, people watching this episode to remember from our conversation?
Am I only allowed three? Because, but I'll keep it to
Go
three.
as long as you want. I'm good.
Because being proudly South African, I think I could talk to my country, to our geography for 6 months, and it probably wouldn't even be close to where I'd go. But I think what's really important as the takeaways and mentioned in our conversation, and really seen for what COVID disrupted in the marketplace, was that outsourcing shouldn't be so scary, and offshoring to a destination such as South Africa, possibly some of the first conversations are, wow, South Africa could be really far away. Well, we possibly not as far as any of some of the formidable BPO destinations out there in the globe. And the way we connect as you and I today, the virtual access to everybody through technology is really allows me to be in your boardroom, your coffee table talk super quickly. So being afraid of outsourcing or offshoring shouldn't be so scary. But if it is still scary, because now teams have got their employees all remote working, they're no longer in the office. So how's that working? That should have been the first test case scenario to say, well, then offshoring shouldn't be so bad. Yes. And I think the three major takeouts from me there is run pilots, run proof of concepts. Don't deploy your whole, kill the one location and throw it all into another and hope you're going to get the wonderful aha moment. Deliver a piece of work out of there. Test it. See the quality, the service, the delivery. Is it meeting expectations? Is it exceeding expectations is what you should be hoping for. And getting the value creation out of those offshore partners. And then I suppose the last one would be, and particularly as I speak to you with a North American audience, conversations today, such as English, that it doesn't matter where across the United States you're going to call. And similarly, you've got a cosmopolitan world feeling. You've got people from all over the world living in the United States. As long as the person is able to have a critical thinking, empathetic, engaged, clear conversational tone through voice channels, English being a native speaking language coming out of South Africa in abundance is a wonderful proposition to service the global English speaking market. That's not the only language in South Africa, by the way, but again, as we address the North American audience, that's an amazing proposition as a takeaway, that pieces of work are worth offshoring to get value creation at affordable prices with an abundance of talent, skill, labor markets that other geographies could potentially be struggling with.
Clinton, I love that. And one of the things that I would take away is do those champion challenger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely encourage, companies that I speak with to, hey, even if you have an outsourcer today, how do you know they're doing as well as they could be doing? Create a champion challenger environment with someone that you've heard a lot of good things about, and definitely, if you're in one region versus another region and you're not afraid of going offshore or near shore, from wherever you're at, South Africa is a great destination to be. I'm looking forward to at some point, hopefully being able to get out and visit your locations.
We would love to have you, Mark. It would be great to have and host you. We will give you a formidable South African braai, which is your version of a barbecue. To those listeners that don't know what a braai is, and it would be great to have you. But back to your champion challenge, that's always a quick opportunity to be able to not only test other geos, other markets, other areas, but it also ensures that your BPO is always delivering at their best, that they're not resting on their laurels, they're not cutting corners, that you're getting that world-class delivery all the time. And I love that champion challenge approach.
Yeah, I do too. I've seen it work very successfully with some very surprising results. Usually for the client. So hey, we're getting close to the end here, Clinton, and I love this part because we get to find out a little bit more about you. It's called the speed round. And so, first question, are you ready for this?
Let's go for it.
All right. What fact about Clinton would people be surprised to learn about you?
Interesting, Mark. I think to the audience and the listeners who've been hearing me and I operate at these high energetic levels at 300 miles an hour. I'm extremely extroverted. I've always been growing up as a kid, getting out, meeting new friends, people. Absolutely love that. But I think there's a sensitive, quiet, gentle, critical thinker inside that takes my personal and private life and wants to like kind of wrap it up and box it and needs to be private. And I think
Uh-huh.
that's probably an area that may surprise some folks when meeting me at a first round of, wow, this guy's all out there. But I think, you know, my private life, sometimes I've got to kind of keep out of the spotlight.
You know, I call it an introverted extrovert.
I like that. I'll work with it for now.
There you go. I love it. I love it. So when you do have time to get off the grid, where is or what is your ideal off the grid location?
Mark, I've shared this in a few different variations of when people say, where's Clint's happy place? What's that time out, you know? And again, I think as I'm heading into my springtime, you know, I'm kind of thinking summer festivities. And one of my destinations has always been the French Polynesian islands, Bora Bora. I'm not sure whether it was from a Vin Diesel movie, Once Upon a Time in My Makeup, that I saw it and just aspired to it and loved and thought, I got to get out there. But I'm going to give you the adverse of that. If you had to put me in a happy place, would be with a snowboard under my feet on top of, you name it, could be the Swiss Alps. My favorite is the Austrian side and just the après-ski mentality when the sun dips and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think that would be it. It's out in nature. It's connecting with the world, connecting with Clinton, away from the work streams, the hustle and the bustle of the rat race.
Uh, Clinton, one of the things that I just love about what you just said is, um, and this is something that's, I think, uniquely, um, for lack of better words, European, but also, part of the African experience, the African continent experience is, you don't just look within your borders. You're always looking external from your borders. And I think that's part of the culture, that I've heard so much about. It's people don't just look within their borders for excitement, for fun, for relaxation. It's, hey, I want to go to the Alps. I want to go to a South Pacific island, and I want to go to Mexico, or it's never within their borders. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that's unique for other cultures outside of the United States.
Yeah, Mark, it really, I think where I've really been privileged and fortunate enough is to have experienced the global travel and gotten out there through younger ages and, worked up and saved money and went traveling and went across into Europe and traveled the US. And this was all kind of pre-university days, post-schooling, and, experienced the world. And what it did was, allowed me to experience different people, places, cultures, and went, wow, there's so much more than Johannesburg, South Africa.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So if someone wants to learn more about you or the work iContact does, how can they get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you? I mean, obviously, if someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, can you connect me with Clinton?" I'd be more than happy to. But if someone's just looking on their own.
Appreciate it, Mark. Yeah, super. I think, the best point of contact, obviously, our website, which is www.icontactbpo.com. All the contact information is on our site, all our services, and links to my LinkedIn's accounts, contact numbers for our facility, and certainly would be happy to be engaged. And I would love the opportunity, even if it is just for a cup of coffee, meet beautiful human beings wanting to understand our geography ultimately, more importantly, taking us on as partners and, you know, creating business opportunities together. But really appreciate the time for me connecting with you, the conversation had today, and I hope I've shared to some of the audience who might not have known so much about outsourcing into South Africa a little bit more than they knew before today.
I think you nailed it, Clinton, and I really appreciate you being able to take time out of your schedule to have a little coffee talk with me.
Absolute pleasure. It was a privilege of mine. Thank you, Mark. Much appreciated.
All right. Well, and those of you who are watching this, if you like this episode, please hit like and subscribe to Brohawk Solutions YouTube channel. There's more of this content, and as Clinton said, I can put you in contact with Clinton. Go check out his website, iContactBPO.com. Check him out on LinkedIn, and we appreciate y'all tuning in for this episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. Thank you very much.